Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Lance Wallnau Show. And by the way, somebody said to me, hey, I like your ZZ Top opening. That's not ZZ Top. That's a River Will Flow. That's pure charismatic music stuff here, people. And Mercedes is with me tonight. People were saying, where's Mercedes? You didn't recognize her. She's been here, but she got glasses. She traded them out for her contacts. So there's some confusion as to who's sitting next to me here, but that's what happens when women change their attire. Now, big news today. I'm sure that you guys, and we're going to be watching this, of course, on Saturday with the RAV, and I'm sure that all of you are still reeling and rocking over what in the world has happened to Fox. You know, I felt this way when Rush's voice was off the scene, and I said, what are we going to do? But then Tucker emerged as a daily 22 million people got a prophetic reformer's voice. And I mean, he even called out the lethargic church during COVID. Where are the pastors? He would say. Then he finally shook the nest, and out pops John MacArthur, of all things. So where we are right now is we're saying, what in the world happened with Fox? And I'll tell you what happened, because I'm a Christian. I'm not going to be confused. I listen to Megyn Kelly and Glenn Beck and everybody else. They don't get it. This is Bible land right now. You know what this is? Satan is trying to shut the mouths of the saints. He's doing everything he can to keep light from penetrating the darkness. That's why all of the Media Matters pundits out there and their Martian mind meld are all saying the same thing every night on every network channel. And then one political voice pops up called Donald Trump. One journalistic voice pops up on TV, Tucker Carlson. Well, now we got many radio voices. I guess we've always been out there in podcasting. But you know what I'm talking about? Western Journal has an article today, asset number 3, producer Chelsea. Tucker's final on-air words hint he had no idea what was coming. Oh, no doubt about it. Last scene of him was eating pizza with that guy. Tucker Carlson signed off. He gave no hint that this would be the last edition of Tucker Carlson Tonight. He was chowing down on pizza, supplied by delivery man Tyler Morrell, who had recently helped police in Pennsylvania catch a fleeing suspect. After taking a few bites, Fox News host gave his routine goodbye, and I'll see you again on Monday. I want to bring in here the renowned man behind the Western Journal, Floyd Brown. Floyd, could you please join us? You've been in Washington. You've worked with Reagan. You've worked with Bush. You've worked in the media industry. You ran the Reagan Ranch. Tell me, what do you think's going on right now in the media world? And and this is all instinctive. We're going to have a live conversation here. I feel as though the devil wants to silence the voice of the prophets. What do you think's happening there with Tucker?
Well, I think you're right. He wants to silence voices. But I think it's important for us to understand two things, Lance. Number one is that Tucker, you are absolutely correct. Since the passing of Rush Limbaugh, Tucker became the most significant voice on the right. And, he was the only one that was taking on so many of these false narratives, from what happened on January 6th to global warming to election integrity. For example, he was the only one that interviewed Carrie Lake after these midterm elections. So he would go where none of the other Fox hosts would go, and he had unbelievable courage, but he also had tremendous integrity. He had great integrity, and so it's a real loss. That's point number one. Point number two, though, is that the Patriot movement is still here, and they're going to be searching for voices. And Fox has made one of the most just massive blunders in terms of business. They've hurt Fox News. We saw it in the market cap today. The stock was plunging, and that's because the audience will be plunging. I know myself that Tucker was the only show that I was still watching on Fox. And, I used to, like most conservatives, watch a lot of Fox. But as time has gone on and we've had so many great voices emerge, such as yours and Steve Bannon's and the podcasting world, Tucker was the one that held me at Fox. So they're going to have a real audience problem. And that means their audience is up for grabs. And I think that they're going to find people, including your show, Lance. And that's why it's really important that you're live streaming now. This is a major change for your show. It's an important business advance for your show. And I think your show is going to be part of the solution to Tucker getting fired or being removed from Fox News. Plus, we're all going to watch and see what he does. Tucker, I guarantee you, is going to be back soon, and wherever he lands, he's going to be successful.
Well, the two things that Mercedes and Floyd, I think, are the losses that we won't recover, other than the instant 20 million people every night access, is the fact that the average low information voter, what Rush would call the low information voter, I know who they are. I mean, I even talk to the young Christians. They're not informed on stuff, and they get it by flopping down in front of a TV set at night. And instead of watching MSNBC or CNN, they'll watch Fox because it was the only place where Republicans could go, even though occasionally they'd have to groan and roll their eyes. At least they would get Tucker, Ingram, Hannity. And Tucker was the crown prince of the three, in my opinion, because the other ones are so formulaic that you can predict exactly what's going to happen. And it doesn't have that raw edginess. What Tucker did was he made a place for the average low information voter to accidentally get informed about stuff like, oh, January 6th was the only guy that had a counter narrative. Secondly, he would have on the Greenwalds and Darren Beatties. These are people who mainstream media will never have on. He would do it because he personally authorized access. He'd say, get a hold of Darren Beattie at Revolver and let's see what they're saying. Or with Carrie Lake. Let's get Carrie Lake on. And that to me is a loss too, because there's journalism we're never going to hear from in these formulaic. Dinesh DSouza is great, but he's like, and Victor Hansen, they're like the go-to people for what's her name, but they're not going to be like these guys.
Yeah, well, look, think about this. I mean, in the last couple of weeks, Tucker not only had the former president Donald J. Trump as an interview, but he had Elon Musk. I mean, he had the two most significant interviews in all media in the last 2 weeks. I mean, filling a void like that is going to be almost impossible.
Well, and I say, when you've got Mitch McConnell, the swamp Yankee up there in Washington, with Schumer, both of them arm in arm, saying, please stop playing the tapes about January 6th. We got a story we're selling here. Republicans too. That, this was an insurrection of biblical proportions, and you're showing a story here that's casting doubt on what our narrative, the party narrative. And yes, Tucker had to shut it down. My theory, and I don't know if I'm right, but my instincts are remarkably prescient in these things. People forget the Murdochs and their wives and their kids and the high-ranking shareholders, directors, and management at Fox. They yearn for the accolades and the attaboys of their peer group in the media mountain and in the wealth mountain and at the country club and at the conferences. And there is a psychic price you pay for the carrying the stigma of truth. And when you have a Tucker, you're going to get the snide comments. Well, you guys had this and that, and they have to put up with this. The New York Times. Remember something. The national security agencies were spying on Tucker's emails. When do you have the NSA spying on a journalist's personal emails? He exposed it.
Yeah, no, you've actually honed in on one of the most important points, and that is the Uniparty didn't like Tucker Carlson. And when I say Uniparty, we hear a lot of debate in Washington, but a lot of times it's fake. It's fake debate because, the Republicans will claim, hey, we want to cut the budget, and the Democrats will claim they want to do this or that. But then at the end, they always come together and are in unity. And so sometimes it's hard to see the uniparty, but we saw it definitely the morning after Tucker Carlson held that extraordinary show where he showed what happened on January 6th. And when he showed the QAnon shaman and how he was led around by the police and how there was no violence involved in anything that he did, it completely flipped the narrative. And it was really unique. The next morning, of course, you expected Chuck Schumer to go to the well of the Senate and, denounce Rupert Murdoch and denounce Fox News and he denounced Tucker Carlson. But immediately after that, you are correct. Not only did Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Republicans, do it, but about 6 other major Republican senators also stepped into the well, and they attacked Fox News. Now, this is significant because it's very clear that the narrative that the left has had and the uniparties had since January 6th has been just phony. I mean, what they've tried to sell the nation is that Donald Trump attempted a coup and the coup failed. That couldn't be further from the truth, because what was actually stopped on January 6th were the measured and clear and thoughtful objections that were going to be made by members of Congress to their various state electors. So you had just coming up there at January 6th was Congressman Paul Gosar. That's who was stopped. It was our guys that were stopped and not allowed to make their arguments. And in fact, when they came back later and actually installed Joe Biden as president, they didn't even have a quorum. And they said, well, we can ignore the Constitution. We can do this without a quorum because of Donald Trump's attempted insurrection.
And so, listen, we're going to have to take a hard break right here because we got another segment coming up. I don't want to miss it. But when we come back, we're going to go into the 2 big things that we really got to talk about, which is Don Lemon and Ray Epps. I got to finish off this segment focusing on 2 different worlds and the impact of what's going on right now. We'll be right back.
The spirit of betrayal is now getting broken off your business.
Every experience,
Broken off your finance.
every challenge,
Getting broken off your marriages.
every triumph has been preparing you for this moment.
The Lord is taking territory in his people where his people live.
Join us for Dream Trip 2023 in Carlsbad, California, where you will unlock your door to destiny,
There is a hunger for awakening.
gain clarity,
The challenge is that many of us don't understand where that awakening is going to take us.
align with your purpose,
And a true awakening of the nature of which God is sending isn't just for our own personal refreshing or revitalization.
and receive the commission to move forward boldly.
It's actually to shift, to change the status quo.
Through immersive experiences, you will be equipped with tools and resources to help you unlock your full potential. Join us for Dream Trip 2023 in Carlsbad, California. Your time is now. Don't miss out on this life-changing experience.
You know why people do the dream trip is because you meet for 3 days with 200 or 300 of the most powerful high-end type people you want to meet with. It's a real schmooze fest for a lot of folks. Businesses come out of that. And twice we've had engagements and marriages come out of it. Not promising anything, but 2 times we've actually had couples meet there that ended up getting married.
I just also want to throw out there that Joy's boyfriend is going to be debuted there. So they just confirmed today Joy and Matt will be there. So I'm very
Matt's
excited.
going to be there.
Matt's going to be there.
This is my daughter's boyfriend, who I did an interview with.
Hey, Lance, I want to ask you a question, though, just to get back on track. So, one, I feel like we're watching the death of cable news in real time. I mean, just with Tucker going, who's actually watching cable news, to Floyd's part? But Don Lemon, he also was like,
Don
today.
Lemon.
Did you hear? You heard about that?
I got so caught up with Tucker, but is this a shock for people out there that Don Lemon is no longer there? And what was the great mistake that when Don Lemon gets fired, it's time to make lemonade and try to find a way to redeem it. Do you know what his great sin was? Do you recall?
I thought he had those producers that were.
No. That was the CNN. That was the other guy, Zecker. What's her name? Zucker.
They got a lot of that going on over there.
But this is what he made the mistake of Nikki Haley was on.
Oh, yeah.
And he made a mistake you don't do with women, do you?
Yeah. He called her old, right?
Basically, he said, well, if you're past 50, really you're past your prime. This is a 30, 40, 20, 30, and 40-year-old. And oh boy, he said it was inartful, but it was actually, he said, inartful and irrelevant. But he got pounded on, and he was he was in dry dock from that moment on.
Man.
Floyd, can we bring Floyd Brown back? I don't want to bring you back on this salacious gossip segment, but I want to know, do you have any insight on what's going on with Don Lemon?
Well, I don't, I'm glad to see him go. I don't watch CNN anymore, but let me just give you a great business idea for CNN. If they were smart, they would hire Tucker Carlson right now. I actually met Tucker, Lance, when he worked for CNN. Back in the 90s, I used to go in and do Crossfire, a show that was a regular evening show on CNN, and Tucker would often be the host. And so the truth is, if CNN had a business brain,
you remember
they would
those
hire
days?
Tucker Carlson.
But Floyd, you remember in those days? Didn't he wear a bow tie?
He did, and we used to kind of make fun of him because we didn't think he was conservative enough. But
surprise!
In those days, Bob Novak and Pat Buchanan, they were the conservatives.
Oh
on Crossfire.
My gosh, that was the heavyweight days with Novakio. And like Darth Vader, they called him. He was just ruthless. And then Buchanan was like a fighting Irishman in the pub every week.
Yeah, no, those were some great shows. But it was fun because it was good, honest debate.
It was. We don't have that anymore. I mean, we don't even have like the McLaughlin group. Remember the McLaughlin group?
I love the McLaughlin
John
group.
McLaughlin
I used
there.
to watch it every Friday night.
Precisely.
And that was on PBS of all places.
You better believe it. And he had names from Jack Jumanji, Jack Jamon, and Eleanor Cliff.
Yeah, Eleanor Cliff. So, but the truth is that actually the major shareholder of Time Warner Discovery is a guy by the name of John Malone, who is a conservative. And so it would not be out of the question. I mean, they've been shaking since they took over control of Warner Brothers. They've really been shaking things up at CNN. And I think it would be a great move for them. Their audience would rocket if they would hire Tucker Carlson to be their main primetime voice on CNN. They would recover their audience like that.
They would, but they'd offend the remaining remnant of radical leftists they've got that are drinking at the Kool-Aid of CNN. I want Chelsea, put up article image, Breitbart, Asset 5. Take a look at the shares. This is like I just put out a tweet today. Honey, I shrunk the network. Look at this. You talk about, this is the Bud Light scenario, folks. This is going over the cliff and taking the big deep dive. And I'm saying this is not because Tucker caused the Dominion problem. He was a voice warning them about it. It's because he simply represents the firebrand right-wing element that the network wants to get away from. They just want to tack towards the middle. They think they can hold on to market share. How out of touch can you get? Ray Epps, Floyd. We got to talk about this.
This has to do, though, with also the financing of the network, because the number one advertiser of MSNBC, CNN, and one of the top advertisers even of Fox is Pfizer. And so, Pfizer has become a gusher of cash. They have made so much money off of these government payments, and they're spreading that money around, buying influence, and that's part of what's changing in cable TV. And to Mercedes' point, she's absolutely correct. Cable is dying, and it's kind of an open field, a lot of green running room for new and alternative shows like your show, Lance.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be, folks. And who knows how long we're going to be able to be doing these things, because I see the restriction on freedom of speech happening all the time. Now, let me just go back on this Ray Epps thing, because I don't think people catch this. 60 Minutes. Is it 60 Minutes just did like a special on Ray Epps? Mm-hmm. And they did not bring Darren Beattie, and they didn't bring any of the evidence in there. And they once again came out this same week saying Tucker Carlson's destroying my life. Ray Epps is a guy who was supposedly a member. Well, he was a member of the Oath Keepers, right? Was it in Arizona, I think? And the Oath Keepers or Colorado, and then he goes up there to Washington D.C. and he's seen visibly organizing, mobilizing, and leading people into the Capitol, storm the Capitol, so much so that people around him are yelling, "Feds, feds, feds." It was so obvious and ham-fisted an effort for a guy to play the role of the scoutmaster, mobilizing the troops. Then he had a physical role in terms of at the barrier points, advancing the barriers, getting people through the barriers, going in. Now, for him to be defended by Clinton's team and the Perkins Coie Democrat lawyers, and to get commended by Swalwell, or who's the other guy up there on the January 6th committee, who's Kinzinger, or whatever his name is. It's the guy who's always crying all the time. They're always talking about from Ohio. Anyway, he's saying this man's doing his service to America. He's wearing a MAGA hat, mobilizing a break-in, and they're saying he's an upstanding American citizen. You know for a fact, the view on this show is that guy's working for the government and embedded himself in the Oath Keepers, and he keeps on having favors done by Democrats to exonerate him and the New York Times to do puff pieces on him. Why is it they got 200 other people tarred and feathered for what this guy did, and this guy gets celebrated with a special acknowledgement? Obviously, he's working with the government.
Yeah, and I don't want, you said something very briefly, and I don't want people to miss this point, Lance, because it wasn't just his statements. It wasn't just what he was saying. It's what he did. They went and systematically knocked down the barriers and took away the fences and removed the signs so that the Trump supporters who were walking onto that area just below the Capitol didn't even realize that they were behind a security barrier. These were basically people that were, singing hymns and singing the Star Spangled Banner. There was literally no violence, but they didn't realize that they had penetrated what was supposedly a secure zone because Ray Epps and his team had taken all of that down. And it's important also to know Ray Epps did not go to Trump's speech. Instead, he was at the Capitol preparing, tearing things down, taking away signs. He was systematically preparing for what was going to happen. And so that's why people think he was a government agent and a government plant.
Well, it kind of makes sense to me, Floyd. Well, listen, we only got 2 minutes and 58 seconds left. Mercedes, you have any thoughts on this?
I'm just thinking about how incredibly absurd this is, because if it was anybody else, if it was you, if it was me, if it was anybody else who was in a crowd the night before saying, we need to go into the Capitol, and then systematically dismantled barriers, the greatest evidence we have that there's something off about this guy is the fact that he had a PR puff piece done on 60 Minutes. Could you imagine? That would never be any true MAGA person would be featured on 60 Minutes saying, "Oh, that poor guy,
sympathetic MAGA guy."
Oh, now, listen, guy. By the way, misunderstood.
We're making a martyr out of this 21-year-old young man who is whistleblowing and exposed the fact that the United States government is lying about the war in the Ukraine. Everybody's freaking out and asking questions about how can we secure these documents in the future? How can we make sure this doesn't happen again? But basically, all the journalists are worried about having the exposure of the lies of government inappropriately revealed by a 21-year-old. The wrong question, but here's my point. How did they jump so quickly and expeditiously and efficiently on identifying the source of that leak? They couldn't find the leak for the Supreme Court document. Same crack team couldn't find it, like the gang that couldn't shoot straight. And we still don't know who planted the pipe bombs outside of the Democratic National Committee headquarters there underneath the bench, even though we have complete geo-targeting ability we got the guy, the culprit, who put the pipe bombs under with a hoodie and a telephone talking. You see him walking around with the benches, put the bombs under the bench, sit there on the bench, talk, gets up and walks away. I say that person is working also with the insurrection stage crew, That's the Fed's direction. Why did they never find him? They could have geo-targeted that phone. That phone's right there. Dinesh DeSouza did it with 2,000 phones and found out where they were going. When the government can't find one, you know what? They don't find what they don't want to find when it contradicts their narrative. That's what I'm saying, and I'm sticking with it. Floyd, you got a great book. The name of the book is a bestseller right now. What's it called? We got 50 seconds. Tell us about it.
Because we have to fight back, Lance. We have to do everything we can to come together in unity to take this country back in the next 2 years. America hangs by a thread, and so we develop a plan to take the country back. And I'm so grateful that
we're doing it. And by the way, they could get that book on Amazon, right? In all places where books are sold.
Absolutely. Amazon or christianbook.com or anywhere books are sold.
And I'll go one step beyond that. Floyd Brown is joining us on a great, courageous tour of the populous gathering. Mario Murillo and I are gathering between 5,000 to 10,000 people in each of our great events. Now we're going to be meeting at Colorado Springs, and we're going to have Floyd speaking there again. It's going to be the great this is what Bannon talks about. This is the populist fourth turning, great awakening. We're taking it to the states. And Floyd, you're joining us. You guys want to go to fireandglorytour.com to join the fracas. And we're having fun fighting back. You got to have fun fighting or you get fatigued fighting. Thank you, Floyd Brown. We'll see you again later. I made a discovery recently talking to Mike Lindell. I discovered that he's got a product which every family that has faith needs to get a hold of for their children. It's Mike's Pillows. When your kids go to sleep at night, they could go to sleep literally on the story of Noah's Ark. Tell them the story. Read to them the scripture. As they go to bed, they're going to dream dreams that are Bible-related. How about Daniel in the lion's den? Oh, it could be a traumatic dream or it could be a comforting dream. Letting your child know that God is always with you no matter what the situation. I love this one here. It's the beautiful one for Christmas, too, where it's about the birth of Jesus. Tell your child the story. Read to them the scripture. Put their head to rest on the word of God at night. Tell them that you expect God to give them dreams and then ask them the next day, what dreams did they get? Your child needs to be protected and pillowed in the faith of God. And as a parent, you can make it happen. You want to go to mypillow.com and use the special promo code Lance. That's mypillow.com. Use Lance as the promo code and get access to these powerful tools to bring your child peace of mind as they go to bed at night. Well, I hope you're enjoying these lively live shows we're having here. And, you know, I love that Mike Lindell. We support Mike Lindell for a couple of reasons, not the least of which, after the Fox Dominion settlement, I have a lot of questions as to how come they settled there and they just rolled over on this thing and they didn't even ask to do any kind of discovery on the security of those voting software programs. I want to make sure that they are not, all I care about is I don't want to have them penetrated from the outside. I don't want them hackable. Tell me they're not hackable. Tell me that nobody can get their influence there. That's all I want to know. That's my only question. Mercedes, we're going to have to land this plane and end this show, and you're waving me down like a meth addict on Air Force One. What do you want?
I don't want to have to take this broadcast down. Pull up. Pull up. Don't say the words.
See, I say things. I'm not allowed to say things, people. I can't talk about this. I can't talk about that on Rumble. Can I talk on Rumble?
Yeah, but we're live on Facebook.
Can't talk about it here. Okay.
No, but hey, I just want to say we had almost 1,300 people on Facebook consistently through this whole broadcast, and almost 400 people over on YouTube. So I think it really helped that you went live earlier and said,
well, I'm glad. Do you have any questions? Do you see any questions?
Everybody's just really talking their thoughts on Tucker. I've been asking questions. Where do you think Tucker's going to end up? Like all these different things. So people, they feel just as strongly about it as you do. So it's good.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I always thought that we were on the same page. Mm-hmm. Are you guys, I want to prepare you for something. I'm already seeing the beginning embers, and I got to get some emotional control over this. There's a bunch of never Trump preachers that are already out there beating up on Donald Trump and saying we can't support Donald Trump. And the Christian witness is so bad because if you're supporting Donald Trump, it's killing your Christian testimony. Just tell me, is that not annoying? Is that really, after you hear a broadcast like this, is that where our firepower needs to go? Do we need our frontline noble warriors coming out of the upper room and going, I don't want to be associated with Donald Trump because he's a bad testimony for an evangelical? This is what I'm getting, and I'm telling you, it's annoying.
Hey, it's only going to get worse.
It's going to get worse, people. before it gets better.
Well, just leading up into the election, Christian nationalism.
Oh, it's
going to
be the NAR, the NRA,
all these
the
made-up terms.
RNA. Hey,
Yeah.
notice how those initials are so popular. The mNRNA, the NRA, the NAR.
It's a lot of the same letters. You're right.
Yeah, they are.
Mhm.
And RAN, RAN. And so,
All right, we're going to land. We got to do a couple.
We're going to
more, right?
land this plane right now, but I want you to write your comments and your questions, because I do set up. It may seem strange, but at night, it's a weird life I've got, but I read all your comments, and those are all my replies. By the way, I will never, ever ask you for money. If I need money, I'll just do it right here and say, hey, we need money. I never email. I'm tired of these weird, these leeches that latch on to public figures, and then they get in the messenger, apps, and they go, hi, I have this orphanage in, Uzbekistan. Will you help me?
Yeah.
No, I'm never going to hit you guys up for money that way. It's so suspicious. Don't give them money. String them along. Tell them, I sent you the $100,000 check. Did you get it? Should I send you cash? I've got cash. Can I send? Play them along.
Time.
Mess with their head and waste their time.
Yeah, that's big. I love watching those guys on TikTok when they do that, and they waste like scam callers' times. Have you seen the latest one? There's one in there that pretends to be a Lance Wallnau prayer network. That's in there, and that one really upsets me.
Yeah, because I want to start a prayer network. I want to start a prayer network.
Don't do that. People get confused.
No, I'm starting a prayer network, but you will not hear from me in any. If you get a prayer network call from me, it'll be just right here, people.
Yeah.
Coming through the front door, not going to be through because I did a broadcast recently.
Yeah.
And I said, I really need to have a prayer covering. I know I do, because I realized that, listen, I'm looking around and seeing, bombs are going off everywhere around me. Mm. You say, I need that prayer. Literally, I'm in Israel. 72 rockets are flying. Who else picks a vacation with 72 rockets flying in Israel? That's my Mr. Magoo timing. I walk right through the bomb field, but I have to have intercession.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to end this show right here. Do give us your comments. We look forward to your commentary. Do check out that dream trip, Extreme Dream. You guys have an extreme dream. You got to live it now while we got the freedom and the daylight's there. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow night.